Hey guys, this is John McNamara, host of Runnin' Vegas. We're talking local sports, business, and real estate. If you guys like what you see today, please subscribe and follow us on Instagram. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Rodrigo.
Thank you as always, John.
And we got a special guest today, a luxury top producer and broker of Virtue Real Estate Group, upcoming brokerage here in town that we're a part of as well. Mr. Darin Marques, thanks for coming on, man.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for inviting me. This is fun.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on.
Looking forward to it today.
Cool.
I was telling you I was practicing my UNLV stuff because you asked me earlier about UNLV sports. And I'm like, shit, man. I only remember like running Rebels from '94. So or sometime around that time.
Yeah, those were the good years.
The good years, yeah. I came here 15 years ago, so they've never been good since I've been here. So,
but improving.
They are, yeah. They've been good the last couple of weeks. So
for sure, yeah.
Beat San Diego State, and yeah. So we're hoping to go to the Mountain West tournament. And,
awesome! Yeah, awesome. That'll be fun.
Be good. Yeah, it'll be good.
Awesome.
But we want to dive into you.
Let's do it, man.
All right, cool. So tell us a little your background. What got you into real estate?
So it's interesting, man. Like I think a lot of people in real estate kind of becomes your last resort sometimes, and it sounds really bad to say that, but that's where I was at in my life. I had always been an entrepreneur, had a distribution company here in Las Vegas for 7 years, was building that for 7 years, and 2009 hit, and my partner in that business owned a large construction company here, and he said, dude, we're done. And we closed shop because of where the market was going. And I was kind of left with like, man, what the hell am I going to do now? And so I actually went and bartended for a year because I'm like, well, what else is there to do? It's 2009. Nobody's hiring, but people are still drinking. Yeah. And so I went and bartended for a year. And at first, man, like I said, always been an entrepreneur. I thought, dude, I'm going to just stay. I don't want to do anything else. I'm done. I'm burned out. But a year into bartending, I'm like, okay, I got to do something different, man. And all my friends growing up, I mean, literally, I've been in sales since I was 15 years old, starting in retail sales, then went to outside sales when I was 18. And all my friends always said, dude, you should get into real estate. You should get into real estate. I'm like, I don't want to do that, man. But I was finally at a point in my career where I was like, in my life, where I'm like, you know what? I need to do something different. The thing that attracted to me about real estate at the time was that I could be independent. I didn't have to have employees and trucks and all that stuff anymore, although I'm back there again. But at the time, it sounded attractive because I'm like, you know what? I can just go do what I do best, which is sell and go out and sell real estate.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
That's cool. No, I didn't know so I got in real estate in 2005, but I actually didn't move here until 2008. I got licensed in 2009.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was really smart. The market's crashing. We're going down 3% a month.
Yeah, yeah.
And first couple years too, I was like, making 30, 40,000 a year.
Yeah.
I had 60 short sales, had no idea what the heck I was
doing. You were killing it compared to me, dude.
Didn't feel like it. I was doing a lot of drinking though. Yeah. And I was thinking I should be a bartender. So
I was doing a lot of drinking. I mean, it just wasn't at work either. But it was funny because when you say that, I'm actually at the gym one day and I'm on the bike and I'm reading my book, studying for class. Yeah. And this guy that I know, actually the one who ended up introduced me to Ivan and Florence, he walks up and he's like, dude, you studying for your real estate license? I go, yeah. And he's like, what the hell are you thinking? Like, you know what's going on right now, right? And I go, oh, yeah, dude. I go, but I'm going to get into luxury. And he was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So that was kind of how I got, that was my mindset walking into real estate was to tap into luxury. So,
cool. Yeah. You've obviously done a great job with that. And I know you were with Ivan for a while.
Yep.
So tell us about that. What was the experience working with Ivan and what you learned from it?
Yeah,
now.
Well, it was Florence and Ivan in the beginning. Florence was, the matriarch of real estate here. I mean, she was an incredible. I always tell people, I said, it's interesting because there's a lot of role models. Like men have male role models and women have female role models. But I said the one thing that was crazy about Florence is that even at that time, every guy I knew wanted to be Florence. You know what I mean? And Florence started in real estate in a time that was definitely male dominant. And she just was kicking everyone's ass. I mean, she was the dominant luxury agent. Anybody who you can think of, any casino owner or celebrity in this town were her clients. And so I was very fortunate to this gentleman that I met at the gym, which is kind of a funny story because I had been in weddings with him and all this different stuff. And I thought he was a realtor. I really did, because he'd always tell me he's in real estate, and he drove at that time a Lexus SUV, which to me was a real estate agent's vehicle. And come to find out years later, He was the one that introduced me to Florence and Ivan, set up the meeting and all that. But years later, he was actually one of the largest developers in town. I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah. Because he never bragged. He wore the same white T-shirt and black shorts to the gym every single day.
Yeah.
We'd sit and do cardio all the time and just bullshit about everything else except for real estate and business. So, yeah.
Well, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
And I like meeting you too the first time. You were nothing but humble. You couldn't tell like you're this mega luxury producing agent, just bullshitting with us, having fun, having a drink.
Yeah.
So it obviously, it shows. So I appreciate that about you.
Well, thank you.
I've always felt comfortable just coming to you and just talking about anything. So,
well, thank you, man. And you should. I mean, it's that's one thing I definitely learned. It's interesting. I know one of the questions you had was what that I learned from Ivan and Florence, and everybody thinks I learned luxury from them, which I did. You know what I mean? But I had been in building material sales for my partner who owned the distribution company with me. I'd worked for him for a number of years, selling building materials to luxury home clients. So I already knew that space, right? I knew the homes, I knew the clients, I knew how to deal with the clientele. And so I learned how to market in that through Ivan and Florence, but learned so much more from them. And that was one of the things, is that they were Ivan still is, two of the most humble people you'll ever meet, right? Like, people were always shocked when they would meet Ivan or Florence and they're like, oh my God, they're so nice. I didn't think that they would be that nice, right? Or I called and they picked up the phone. I couldn't believe they actually called me back. Yeah. They're just two of the most humble people. And that was something I learned from both of them. And that, I know Ivan learned so much from Florence as well. But it was, there were so many other things we learned from them other than luxury. That was one of them, being humble. The other thing was, being around the right people. Surrounding yourself with the right people. And I think that's really important. For me, it was at the time. I was definitely in a dark point in my life. I was drinking 5-6 nights a week. I mean, like shit-faced drunk type drinking, and was not in a great place in my life. And every year when my real estate dues came due in January, I'd go to them and say, I'm quitting. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm broke. And thankfully, they'd never let me give up. They're like, no, Darren, no, it's okay, man. You'll be good. Just keep going. And I'm like, shit, I was hoping they were going to let me leave.
Well,
and
thank God they didn't.
And thank God they did, man. And so, it goes back to that thing where, when people talk about being successful, I think one of the biggest keys to success is who you're around, right? And being around the right people. And I think humble is important, because if you see yourself as the greatest and you see yourself as the best or one of the best, then you lack trying to improve, because you think you're already there. And I think the key with being humble and never seeing yourself as maybe others may see you. It's funny, somebody texted me the other day, they're like, another broker, they're like, holy shit, dude, you're killing it. My ranking in the MLS right now, I didn't even know I was there. And I was like, oh, cool, thanks. But my first thought went to, well, shit, I'm still not number one.
That's how my head works too.
Yeah,
so I get it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think you have to keep yourself somewhat humble in order to constantly improve. You know what I mean? Because you're always looking to be a little bit better. So
absolutely.
Yeah, when John first introduced me to the idea of making the switch and joining Virtue, I wasn't very familiar with the with the broker, but meeting you off the back, always welcoming, always happy, with a smile on your face, man. To me, that meant a lot.
Awesome.
You've never shied away from questions that we may have. You're never too busy to give us some feedback or give us some tips. So very appreciative.
That's awesome. That's what I love to hear.
Man.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I think that, and I think that's the reason why we came. It was you at the end of the day, because your company is up and coming, which is very exciting, and you're very positive, got good energy, and you work out you're live on Instagram every morning, calling out people not showing up, which we love because we're the same way, obviously.
You got to call them out, man. You got to call them out. So I do the same to my team. When people don't show up, I'm like, oh man, you guys must be killing it this month because I haven't seen you in here. So, and it's funny. I just had this conversation with my team the other day. I'm like, and I was actually, I posted this the other day. I was running, I'm listening to David Goggins' latest book right now. And the thing I thought about is, I'm like, sometimes the people who you think are your closest friends can actually be your greatest enemies, because even though they think that they're supporting you and they're encouraging you because they're like, oh, you're doing great, but they're not being realistic with you, right? They're not being honest with you because they don't want to hurt your feelings. And sometimes those people who you feel like, man, this person's my enemy, who calls me out, they bust my chops, they give me a hard time, But a lot of times that's because they really care, right? It's because they care about you and they know that you have the ability to do much better. And so they'll call you out on that shit. And that's kind of that's always how I've been raised. I always tell people, my dad's a Marine and he's from the East Coast. There's not really much you can say to me that's going to hurt my feelings. He said it. And I learned from him just to be very, very direct and honest with people. Growing up, that was hard to watch because a lot of times people would take it the wrong way. But now as I've gotten older, I definitely have a respect for it. And I realize, like, man, if you care about somebody, you got to call them out sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
definitely a little bit of tough love. And David Goggins does a real good job, describing that. If you say you're going to do something, I'm going to hold you accountable to that, right? Calling you out. Hey, why are you not doing it? Why haven't you reached your goals?
Yeah.
So it's important to have a friend like that for sure.
Yeah.
It's all about tough love.
Got to make sure we're not enabling our friends and our team members. And we practice fierce conversation. Have you read Fierce Conversations before?
No,
that's
I have
exactly what you're saying. It's a great book. So we, as a team, we read a book every month.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, so we go through that. But Fierce Conversation, we practice that every week with our team. As team lead, team members, director of ops, we're always very fierce with each other. And sometimes, it can... hurt the. I know myself. My ego's been hurt plenty of times being a team lead. I'm sure as a broker. You feel it too. But then you gotta. What can I learn from it and get better and improve? So that's the only way. If you don't know, you can't grow.
100%. Man, I just had that conversation. I've got a client just recently sold his business for over $1 billion. And the dude's got an incredible story. Moved here because Vegas at the time, him and his wife were going through struggles. Financially, moved to Vegas because it was the cheapest place on the West Coast. That's how they determined where they were going to move. Wow. At the time when they moved here, it was the cheapest place on the West Coast that they moved to. And him and I sat down and had lunch. And, for me, it doesn't matter where I'm at. Like I said, I can always feel like I can improve. And so I just had a very direct conversation with him. I said, hey, man, would you mind sharing with me as somebody that you've worked with, where do you think I can, what do you think I can do better? And he's like, you sure? Like, because I'm pretty direct. And I go, dude, throw it at me. And he did, you know what I mean? And I love him for it because he was the advice that he gave me in that 1 hour will probably be worth millions and millions of dollars over the next year, coming years, because he was so direct. And I think that's the thing to remember. It's like, you need to put yourself around those people sometimes who, my training partner when I was younger and I competed in bodybuilding, I mean, dude, he was the roughest person on me. Like, he would never let me quit. There was days I'd oh man, I'm sick, I'm not going to make it in today. And this dude, keep in mind, like, this guy was like, I was 16, 17 at the time. Okay. This dude's like a roided out 35-year-old, 280-pound dude, and he'd scream at me, I'll come to your house and I'll pull you out of your bed. And I'm like, all right, dude, well, I told you my legs broke, but okay, I'll come in. You know what I mean? But, looking back, I appreciate that at the time because anybody else would have said, oh, okay, man, stay home, get better. And it probably would have led me to giving up. And he there was no exceptions. My arm could be falling off. I could have the flu. Didn't matter. You're coming in, you're going to train. You still got another arm you can train. We could do legs today. Yeah. It was just the mentality. And for me, I look back, I appreciate that from people. Yeah. So.
Yeah, well, definitely as it shows with your business and how you operate things. So absolutely.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So tell us more about, because I know you were on with Ivan and then you went into production and have been very successful. So how was that transition?
It's funny because people have seen me progress over the last 15 years, people that have known me closely, and 5 of those years were at Askaya. And that was honestly the biggest challenge when leaving. I was 5 years with Florence and Ivan doing resale. Then I left. I stayed with them, but because we had Askaya as our listing, and they moved me there as the manager. But when I moved there, I was exclusive to Askaya, so I could no longer do resale. So all my deals I had to give away to other agents, and it figured 5 years in a row I was going to quit. The year I go to Askaya, and this is not exaggeration, the day I was starting Askaya, I'm on the way. I get 2 calls. One's for a $3.9 million listing, the other one's for a 2.5, and I'm like. And these were guys that I'd been working on for years, right? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, shit, I can't take these now. I'm working here. But anyway, so I spent my 5 years there. When I left, it was definitely a tough transition. One, going from managing something at that size, right? I mean, $1 billion project and just getting it up and running, to go back to just selling. It felt like I wasn't doing anything anymore, right? Also, I had to go back and start reaching out to all those clients again and people I hadn't talked to in 5 years. So it was really like starting all over again, and getting back. And that 5 years that I was at Ascaya, I didn't sell. I was the manager. So like even my sales game was gone, right? Like even though I was training people, I wasn't actively doing it myself. And so that was really tough the first few months jumping back into that. It was back at Ivan's for about 6 months. And then that's when for me, I just knew it was nothing with Ivan. Ivan are still very close to this day. I'm like, damn, dude, I need a bigger challenge. I'm not challenged right now. I'm bored. And that's when I had made the decision, maybe it's time to start a team. And I made the move to Huntington and Ellis with Craig over there. So, yeah. So
I understand that. I'm built the same way. I need to grow at all times. And I think I was like 15 years in sales. I'm like, I just need to do something different. And I need to grow. And it's crazy because you think, because you're good at production, right, or sales, it's just going to translate to be this great team lead.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. It doesn't. Because you got to remember, salespeople are very, by nature, and you have to be, you're very selfish, right? It's all about you, and it's not about anybody else. You're out for yourself. It's a very individual type business. And to go from that to all of a sudden be trying to help the people around you, and you're like, whoa, hold on a second, man. Like, hold on, what am I doing? Like, I should be out selling, That's a tough transition.
For sure. It's a total different set of skills that you got to work on. And I know myself, humbled many times as team lead. As you know, the team goes to 10 and it's 5 and it's 10 and it's 2.
I've let them come back.
They all come back, though.
That's right. We all return, No, when something's good, you come back to it.
Sometimes you don't know what you have, right? Until you leave, you go somewhere else, then you figure it out. So, No, it's been a good transition, though, going back into it and then starting the team. That was great. Ascaya was a huge asset to me because that helped me create my brand and who I was. Because when I started at Ascaya, they wanted me to start doing video. And so I started doing video there, and that's where I started. Really, at the time, there wasn't really a lot of agents doing video yet. And so I started to get my name out there by leveraging one off of this incredible brand, right, that everybody knew, and then two, leveraging my relationship with Ivan Schur, and all of that combined. When I left, definitely helped, and then going to another credible company like Huntington and Ellis definitely gave me that credibility and gave me some leverage in leaving, so that it helped me quickly be able to build my business up. But also I left in December of 2019, and then we had March 2020. And I thought, what the hell did I do, dude? Like, was this a bad move or what? Both my wife and I were going, shit, I shouldn't have left yet. You know what I mean? COVID hit. Right. We weren't expecting what was going to happen on the back end of COVID, right, with the real estate market. So that was really tough to predict. But, again, it's those challenges that you get faced with, and got to always constantly put yourself under those new challenges all the time. So. Sure.
Ended up in terms of real estate, and it sounds like it actually ended up being the perfect time, right? So,
it was. It was. It's just like starting the brokerage this year. Most people would have said, man, why would you start a brokerage in what's been the worst market, 2023, that we've had in a long time, what they say over 30 years. And even at one point, I thought the same. Why am I starting a brokerage in this market? But the reality is that it would have been really tough to recruit most agents in a strong market, right? Because most agents are not moving when the market's good. They move when the market's bad. And so it gave me a great opportunity, and it really turned out to be the right time to move. Even though it didn't feel like it at the moment. So
for sure. Well, it's funny because everybody, from 2023 and the second half of 2022 is complaining about the market and how hard it is.
Yeah.
And I get it, right?
Yeah.
But when you sold in 2009,
nothing compares to that.
It's nothing. I'm like, this is great. Like, I'm loving this market. I'm calling everybody, getting the market share, because I know when we're in 2025, it's all going to be exploding again.
100%, man. And that's at the time when I got my license in 2009. I'm sure everybody was asking you, like, why are you getting your license? And honestly, my theory was, and it was actually from reading Think and Grow Rich. I'm like, you know what? Everybody starts when the market's good. And that's the bad time to start. I want to start when the market's at the bottom, and I'm going to ride the market up. And now look, 15 years later, I look like I really knew what I was doing. Partly it was just I had no other choice. I'm like, well, I'll do real estate. But you know, it worked out, and I think it is. It's kind of like same thing. It's like buying stock, right? You don't buy when it's at its peak. You buy when it's at its low. And so that's kind of the same way I looked at the real estate market.
Great.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Well, tell us more about your company. It's been great to be a part of it for the last couple of months. And what's your vision? And how's that transition being a broker? I'm sure you're feeling it, because just being the team lead, brokers is like another challenge, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. Again, there's definitely days I wake up, I'm like, dude, I maybe need to go get myself checked in because I might be mentally ill. Because what am I doing? Like when I first started the team, and then now with the brokerage, because there's adjustments, right? Because I'm still producing. I still go out and sell, but I got to manage. I got to run the company, and now I got to manage two companies and run two companies, because I've got the team, which is its own separate entity, and then I've got the brokerage, which is its other entity. But for me, you know, I just started looking at it, and when I was with Craig, Craig's just very conservative by nature. I have a very extreme, you know, and for me too, also just where I'm at in my age, I'm like, and this may sound morbid, I don't feel like I have like 30 years, 40 years to make something hit big, because I want to be retired way before then. You know what I mean? I want to be retired by the time I'm in my 50s or at least early 60s. And so for me, I'm very aggressive about my approach with anything that I do. And I've always been that way. Even when I competed in bodybuilding, doesn't matter in timing. I'm just always really aggressive. I want to grow things quickly. And so that was part of my vision with growing this, is that I'm like, dude, I want to grow rapidly. I want to create a place that is not so much just focused on selling anymore, but also taking care of the agents and treating. I think we've all been through it. I mean, luckily I had two great experiences, but coming from other agents from other brokerages, sometimes you're not treated the best, right? You're looked at as the salesperson. I am a salesperson by nature, so I want the agents to feel like customers to me. That's how I view them, is I view them as customers and what we can do for them to help them improve their business. And my other vision was, you know, I look at all these companies that have made billions of dollars out there. They're, you know, and I'll use like Red Bull or Monster Energy Drink, for example. People look at those companies as energy drink companies, but they're not. They're actually phenomenal marketing companies that happen to have an energy drink. And that's what I really see as the vision for Virtue, is that we're not just a real estate company that sells real estate. We are a marketing company that just happens to market real estate, and we do a really good job at marketing. That's my vision for the company. And then the name came from, you know, we all know, I mean, it's not any secret that real estate agents don't have the best, people don't view them as, you know, these great professionals. They're definitely looked down upon, and with most people, except for real estate agents, we see ourselves very highly. But the reality is, when you talk to most consumers, they don't have a great opinion of real estate agents. And that's something for me that I really want to change. And that was partly where Virtue came from, is that I want to operate with high moral standards. I want to operate and do what's right. For me, it's not always about the money, and I learned that from Florence. I mean, there's been plenty of times I've let commissions go. I've given back money, whatever it takes to make the client happy at the end of the day and get the deal done and know that they can trust me, which also I think is extremely important nowadays, is that at the end of the day, man, I just want my clients to trust me, right? I want them to know that whatever opinion I give them is not banking on, oh man, this is going to be a $150,000 commission. So yes, you want this house. It is a great time to buy. I just had a client not long ago, house was well over 10 million. They asked me their honest opinion, Darren, you know, and what they were going through and where they were at in their lives. Should we sell? And as hard as it was to say no to that, because it sounds so attractive, because between their sell and their buy, I mean, you're looking at close to $15 million. I said, no, you know what? I don't think now is the right time. I think you guys need to wait. I don't think emotionally you guys are ready, because they built their dream home. I said, I don't think emotionally you guys are ready yet. So let's have this conversation in 6 months from now and see where you're at. And if it's the right timing, then we'll list the home. And
great.
because to me, I don't want to, the minute it becomes about money, you start making bad decisions.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. I think our job is to be problem solvers for our clients and what's really the best for them. And we're the same way as our team, our approach. I go in there not necessarily, I want to, find answers for them. And it's not always selling the house.
yeah, exactly.
Maybe it's going, because sometimes folks have money problems. Hey, have you thought about a HELOC?
Yep.
Or, and because we all believe in real estate, obviously. So that's great that you have the best interest for your clients.
Yeah, and I think that'll go a long way because I think there are plenty of changes coming in this industry, which in my opinion, everybody's panicked about it. I think it's good. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be healthy. One, again, it challenges us, right?
Yep.
It makes us have to step up to be better because now we have to start looking, hey, what am I going to do to ensure that my business can last? And I'm going to have to rethink and re-strategize and maybe even rebrand myself or retool so that I operate a little bit differently from what real estate brokerages offer today. Yeah. And the second part of that is really getting back to building the trust of the consumer so that they can feel confident when they use you that you really are looking out for their best interest. And it's just not about getting that 3% commission.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I think it's going to be actually I agree with you. I think there's probably for maybe 12, 18 months, there's going to be some shuffle in our industry. But I think for the folks that really take this seriously and they work hard, it's going to be a benefit for the agents actually. And unfortunately, a lot of folks that don't take this business seriously, they're probably going to be out of it. Yeah. So I think it's a long time coming, and I know we're ready for the challenge and excited about it. So.
I always tell people this comparison. I worked in the fitness industry for many years, even owned a health food store when I was in my early 30s, and I saw the change with Amazon come into the market and kill brick and mortar. I mean, there was 130 health food stores here at one time. Now there's like 30 with a population that's easily double than it was at that time. But it was good for the industry because what it did is a lot of those mom and pop shops that were open weren't operating ethically, right? They were selling things they shouldn't be selling. They were doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. And it weeded a lot of those people out. They couldn't survive anymore. And what it's brought into the market, the brick and mortars that are left are really strong. They're very customer oriented now, right? Very much about taking care of the customer. So at the end of the day, the consumer is getting treated better because of all those tough changes. And it was tough for everyone. I mean, I was affected by it. But that's why now learning that and watching that happen in that industry, I now see very similar things happening in this industry. And that's why I want to be proactive and ahead of it. Like, what do we do now to prepare ourselves for where we're going to be in 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, too, because I think customer service is a huge issue in our industry. And when I came out here 15 years ago and I'm making my calls every day, what was the one thing they kept saying? Never heard from my agent.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed 15 years later.
Even with all the technology and phones and cell phones,
it's crazy.
It's harder to get a hold of them,
And what do? I just text them back quicker, call them back. It's not really that complicated, but I think it's going to weed out the industry a little bit should ultimately be a good thing for sure. So
100%, it'll set the professionals apart. The industry will shrink quite a bit, and consolidate. But the people that are left will be stronger. And I think it'll be a much better value and service to the consumer at the end of the day than what it is now.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you, Darren, for being on our podcast.
This is awesome, man. I love the 30 minutes also. It's
like the timer going down.
Rapid fire, man. I love it.
We're going to need a part 2, no doubt.
Oh, I think, can we get a part 2?
Yeah, let's do it, man. Awesome. I can, especially with caffeine, dude. You know me. I will. You'll be like, okay, we got to cut this guy off. Just shut up, dude.
I like it.
We appreciate it.
We appreciate it. So if you're looking for an up-and-coming brokerage, a great broker in Darren here, reach out to him. We've been very happy at the new brokerage. So thanks for having us.
Yeah. Well, and I want to share that's mutual, guys, because honestly, having guys like you that are high performers, you're there every day, that pushes me also, right? Like that keeps me from letting my foot off the gas. So I appreciate it just as much. I look at you guys as like my training partner in the gym. Awesome. You're there, I got to be there. Yeah. I'm going to put, I see you pushing, I got to push. Yeah. So I appreciate it just as much. And you guys are just as much of a help and a benefit to me as well. So
thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
That means a lot. All right. Thank you. My co-host, Mr. Rodrigo.
Thank you, guys.
Best in the business right here.
That's right.
This is Run in Vegas. And take care of yourself, guys. Have a great day.
Have a great day, guys.